the idea of stopping at the power plant. That would be in New Mexico, so you wouldn't need Texas funding.
We'd have to look at it. It's definitely common to leave for the MPP.
Because I think there's a yard, so BN could lay a train set over.
I believe so, but I'm
Put 'em on each end of two cars. BN would have enough room to lay it over. That looks like the reality of if you were gonna do this.
So it's 5 o'clock, and I'll call this meeting of the Mesilla Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization Bicycle and Pedestrian Facilities Advisory Committee to order. I'd like to start with a moment of silence for one of our vulnerable road users that we lost to an incident on Loman Avenue. So for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And if we could have a roll call to establish a quorum, and if everybody would identify themselves, we have a couple of proxies. Oh, we'll start down at this end over here.
Vanessa Morales Romero, City of Las Cruces.
Donald Wilson, I'm proxy for Longino Bustillos, County of Doña.
Ashley Curry, I am the representative for the town of Mesilla.
Angela Roberson, a proxy for Albert Casillas, Doña County Community Development.
Jim Wilcox, cycling representative.
Andrew Guerra, representative, NMDOT.
Zulin Acosta, representative for NMSU.
And I'm George Pearson, City of Las Cruces representative. And we have one more member. Okay, thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, we do not.
I'll hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Ashley Curry, so moved.
Angela Roberson, second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Next is approval of the minutes for our February 20th meeting. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented. We can't continue the meeting without the motion.
Ashley Curry, I put forth a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 20th, 2024.
Jim Wilcox, I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now we have an opportunity for public comment. This is our first opportunity. We also will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Anybody from the public wish to come in and speak with us?
I do.
Come forward, identify yourself, and tell us what you want to tell us.
My name is Paul Leva. I submitted an idea to Rail Runner to study about service between Sunland Park at the power plant and Santa Fe, a morning train going up and an evening train coming back. And I just wondered what your all's interest was. BN is not gonna let them do a cab car. After the Metrolink thing, where the Metrolink engineer missed a signal and hit a freight train in the cab car, there's no way BN's gonna let anybody else on the line with a cab car and active freight. Because UP got sued over that deal.
Excuse me, can you say your name again?
Paul Leva.
Okay. Paul, I have to apologize. I did not see your proposal, and I don't know.
No, I can't find it. I couldn't find an email address
Oh,
that wasn't on the form.
okay.
It's too
So
long to fit in the form.
sounds like you need information on how to send that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe our people with the city can help us or the,
Anyway, I submitted a copy to Sunland Park
oh,
for Sunland Park Public Works to look at too. And I asked Rail Runner to respond to see what they think.
Okay, well, that's sort of outside of our scope. This is the
Anyway, I
MPO.
just wondered what your all's interest is in the service.
Well, there are a couple of things that are happening. There have previously been studies on the commuter rail between Las Cruces and El Paso.
I'm not talking about Las Cruces and El Paso. The line's target is Sunland Park to Santa Fe. It'd be a morning train up, probably around 4:30 or 5.
Okay, well, I'm telling you what has happened in the past is that there has been a commuter rail study done at that level. The MPO area covers from about Barino to Radium Springs and north-south. So we are a public forum, so we're here to listen to things that you have to say, so that's of interest. Also, we will be having the MPO's Metropolitan Transit Plan update soon, so your comments would be appropriate for that. Maybe the staff could.
You all would have to give up the idea of a Las Cruces El Paso train. You, TxDOT tore out the spur that you would need to serve the El Paso station.
Well, that's beyond my technical knowledge.
I'm just
The
saying.
other comment that I would have is that I have recently seen U.S. Department of Transportation put out a map on proposed passenger rail routes, and the map that I saw included a route from El Paso up through Las Cruces, Albuquerque, Denver, and even into Montana. So the idea has been thought about. If you have a
Amtrak's
couple
talked
billion
about that
dollars
before.
around, we'd be happy to see it happen.
They've talked about that before. I'm telling you, physically, you can't get from the BN line near the El Paso station. They physically tore out the possibility.
Okay, well, does staff have any other comments on
And so
appropriate?
I just
forum?
wondered
yeah,
if the service looked at end to end and not between here and El Paso. Would you all be interested in it, or?
this is Jim Wilcox for the record. Paul, we have to receive the information to be able to make a good determination. I want to give you the time that this and the attention this proposal deserves. And for me to make a decision now about the
I
appropriate.
just wondered
Let me
if
finish.
there was any general
Let me finish. Would be inappropriate, not fair to you. So I'm going to give you my email, and you can send me your, do you have email?
Yeah, I have email.
I'm going to give you this, and you can send it to me, because I want to give it the attention you deserve, and I can't decide right now. But thank you for coming tonight.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to address us now? Move on to our action item. We have a tip amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dominic Loya for MPO staff. 1 second while the presentation gets pulled up. So we do have tip amendments for this cycle. This will be for federal fiscal year 2024 to federal fiscal year 2029 on the Transportation Improvement Program. So there are a few of them. They are all Roadrunner Transit tip amendments. So we have, the first one is TL 00100. It's for federal fiscal year 24, City of Las Cruces, Roadrunner Transit. It's for the operating section, the 5307 funds. This is a funding change. They will be obligating the federal fiscal year 23 and federal fiscal year 24 funds with an annual increase of 2.1%. And then they will, they will increase stick amount, the stick funds by 2.1% for federal fiscal year 2024. This project will have no effect on the performance measures. We have TL 00110 for federal fiscal year 2025. This is also Roadrunner Transit. It's for the rolling stock. It's the 5307 funds. It's funding change. They're removing money from federal fiscal year 25. And this project will have no effect on the performance measures. We have TL 00120 for federal fiscal year 24. This is capital equipments section with 5307 funds and 5339 funds. This is also a funding change. They will be using the 5339 funds for furniture for their new facility. This project will have no effect on the performance measures. We have TL 00130. This is for federal fiscal years 2026 and 2027. It's for the Maintenance and Operations Center. They're moving the funding from the TIP to an out year. And they're removing all funding in federal fiscal year 26 and federal fiscal year 27. This project will have no effect on the performance measures. We have TL 00140 for federal fiscal years 24 and 25. This is the rolling stock section for 5339 funds. This will be a change in funding as well. The federal fiscal year 24 is being amended to match funds received, and they're removing federal fiscal year 25 funds. Then we have TL 00170. This is for federal fiscal year 2028. This is for the transit facility improvements. The federal fiscal year 28 match is now matching with the city's CIP, and it's also adding in grant for the induction charging stations at the Move It Center. And this project will have no effect on the performance measures. MPO staff requests VPAC to recommend approval to the policy board for this series of TIP amendments. I will now stand for any comments or questions.
So for the rolling stock, are they going to all electric? Do you know? Is that what the intent is?
So they are going to, on the larger buses, they are going to electric, but I do believe they will still have some gasoline on the smaller buses as well as natural gas.
And at the Move It Center, they're doing something there. They're going to add a way to charge the buses during the day. Is that the intent there?
I believe that's what the intent is.
Okay. Any committee members have any other questions? Seeing none, I'll hear a motion to recommend approval to the policy board.
This is Jim Wilcox. I motion to recommend for approval to the policy board.
Ashley Curry, second.
So we have a motion and a second to recommend these TIP amendments to the policy board. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Next, we have a Transportation Project Fund project application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be presenting the beginning of this. So as you know, the Transportation Project Fund we closed it last Friday, 2 Fridays ago on the 5th. So we are where we are in the process right now is going through all of the committees. We have one project from Doña County, and then I believe Ms. Sabrina Schrader is here to present that. And we will go ahead and go from there.
Good afternoon. Sabrina Schrader for Community Development. I'll be presenting the Elks Drive Multi-Use Trail Project. Could we start with this next slide, Billy? We'll begin with the project location map. As you can see, the proposed project area is located within Doña County, situated within the Mesilla Valley.
Excuse me, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you put that, there you go.
Is this better?
Thank you.
Is this better? Okay, thank you. We'll begin with the project location map. As you see, the proposed project area is located within Doña County, situated within Mesilla Valley MPO and just outside of the Las Cruces city limits. The project site map is an enlarged view of the proposed project site, highlighting several of the schools and community amenities in the area, including three schools and 2 parks, one being the future proposed Parque Alegre. The objective of this project is to leverage recent investments in the pedestrian connectivity by completing the final segment of the Elks Drive multi-use trail within the community of Doña Ana. The existing trail in the proposed segment will complete the linkage between Doña Ana community and the Las Cruces city limits. This project proposes an additional 935 feet of multi-use trail, beginning at Sertouche Lane and ending at the boundary between Las Cruces city limits and the unincorporated community of Doña Ana. When constructed, this project will contribute to the 1.75-mile-long multi-use trail on Elks Drive, providing pedestrian connectivity to 3 schools, 2 parks, Doña Ana Community Cemetery, Doña Ana Community Fire Station, and providing pedestrian access to Thorpe Road. The project is supported by various planning documents, including the Plan 2040 Comprehensive Plan, excerpts on the active transportation, and the livability principles 3 through 5 highlight the importance of pedestrian connectivity and how this project proposal is in line with these goals. Supporting statements from the comp plan affirm that the best walking and cycling routes will be the main thoroughfares, such as Elks Drive. This project is also supported by the One Valley, One Vision 2040 Regional Plan, as well as the Doña Ana Strategic Plan. Excerpts from these documents showcase a significant need to expand pedestrian infrastructure to better serve the community. These plans call for improvement in pedestrian accommodations and acknowledge that 89.9% of respondents agreed for better walking trails and biking trails. Goals also call for the creation and the expansion of multi-use trail, and this is based off of the strategic plan. A letter of support was secured from the City of Las Cruces, acknowledging the ongoing discussions between the city and the county in this particular area and the investments in the connectivity that we are working to work on together. An additional letter of support was secured from the Las Cruces Public Schools Safe Routes School Program, also recognizing the need for this project by emphasizing the successful coordination that we've had between our 2 entities, and specifically in the widening of the trail. Well, they were supposed to be sidewalks, and we had a very successful meeting, thanks to Ashley Curry. Thank you for facilitating that. And through this coordination, we are able to focus our efforts on the fragmented pieces that are left, allowing us to focus on connectivity, not just in Doña Ana County, but beyond that. And I will now stand for any comments or questions.
So the existing trail, as you go south, it starts on the east side of the roadway and then crosses over to the west side near the school. Will this project stay on the west side, or do you anticipate crossing back to the east, or what?
No, it will stay on the side that the school is currently on, and that's where it will terminate at the Las Cruces city limits.
Okay.
It won't cross back over.
Yeah, it's a very short distance. That's still in the county there, right?
Yes.
So I guess my only other comment I'm grateful that the county is stepping up and made this application. And I wonder where the city is with application for any project from this funding. We've been hearing how the state has all this money that they want to spend. So it's implied that there's a huge bucket of money available for the TPF source. And we have only one application in the MPO. So I'm happy to recommend this to the state planners and hope for the best. Anybody have any questions that they'd like?
Mr. Chair, Jim Wilcox for the record. On your data about preference for biking and walking, I believe it said the data was from 2008. Is that
That was
correct?
from a workshop, yes.
And do you have anything more recent than something that's 16 years old?
We have a bunch of supporting documents that was pulled out specifically, but in the application, I should have just handed this to you all, but there's about multiple pages of supporting documentation,
Okay.
not just 16 years old.
Okay, great. And do those the newer numbers, are they somewhat reflect what the previous numbers were? Has there been a significant change or?
I would have to look at that
Okay.
just to be sure, but it's advanced,
Okay.
the need.
And then the other thing I had was, I've been getting comments or attending events where people say these programs need to be more integrated across there needs to be more collaboration amongst different government agencies. Are you feeling that this is happening, that you're working with other agencies that might interface with this particular project?
We do believe that by having these conversations early on with the city of Las Cruces, particularly with the Parks and Recreation, that we can support each other in these initiatives. Because we do share a lot of the same regional goals. I cannot speak for them just yet. I just know that collaboration is ongoing, and that's our ultimate goal.
Because we're getting some comments that there's gaps between one project and another project. And one of the things that they've found is when people want to bike, they see a choke point or a place where it's kind of scary and they just skip the whole trip. So I would encourage that those that's commonly called siloing, you reach out as much as you can to the other agencies to collaborate with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I please add a comment? Mr. Wilcox, to reiterate, Ms. Schrader did reach out to the school district, which is a different agency, and collaborate turning a sidewalk into a multi-use trail. So I think that's a great example of intercollaboration between different agencies. And I see what you're saying within the city stepping in to being able to make that connection as well. But I think if you're looking at collaboration between agencies, that's a perfect example of what works.
That's great. I'll take that information back to the people who talked to me about needing more collaboration.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Angela Roberson, Doña County. I'd also like to add to that our coordination with the city and why we got a letter of support from them is while they don't have an application in for TPF, they do have intent to make connection through the city limits to this trail network for regional connectivity. So while we don't know exactly how that'll take shape yet, their intent, actually how they expressed it to us was, and they agree with our suggestion, to tie into their trail network at the outfall channel. So essentially all the way down Elks at some point in time. So we are having these conversations now, and there is intent, and that's one of the reasons why they gave us a letter of support, is they want to see this happen as well.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Wilcox, Ashley et al., I think a lot of the questions.
You're not on the mic.
I think a lot of the questions were alluded to, and I wanted to talk specifically about integration, as Mr. Wilcox brought up, and I think you addressed it as well, about connectivity with the outflow channel bicycle facility, which would be excellent. I just wanted to make sure, I saw a map, I see a long line along a road that is on one side of the road. It doesn't jump back and forth, correct? The
Are you
multi-use trail
referring?
that's being proposed.
Are you referring to the? I can.
Yeah,
Yeah, the map shows different phases of the project, so.
Because remember we had that discussion on the multi-use trail on Avenida was it Calle del Norte and Mesilla, about it jumping back and forth. We finally got most of it put on one side of the road for a large part of the segment, and then it goes to the other part when the easements were not available to keep it on the same side.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we have that, because it no longer becomes feasible for cyclists if they have to go back and forth. For a pedestrian, perhaps so, but not for a bicyclist. Is that on one side of the road or
Yes,
multiple sides of the road?
as we've said, the recently constructed Elks, that does cross the road. This would be on the west side of the road where Columbia will be reconstructed and will not cross back to the other side. So we'll remain on one side.
Okay.
So this project is that last little
It's the highlighted yellow, it's the
yellow
dashed
and
yellow.
gray dash.
That's where it jumps over?
It jumps over just north of,
Okay.
Taylor.
It only
Taylor, yeah.
in other words.
It keeps them from having to cross all these side roads.
Okay, good.
So you have right-of-way there, or whose right-of-way is this using?
That's ours.
So the county owns.
And the other comment was addressing with integration with other bicycle facilities, outflow channel. And you also had the Traverse multi-use trail. If you could take it down there all the way to North Main and get across North Main and connect it up with the Traverse multi-use trail, that would really make it exciting. Is there any movement in that direction? Or am I being too idealistic?
Not at all.
Grandiose.
No, not at all. We'll take these comments into consideration with our discussions with the city for sure. Of course, it'll be the city that has to lead that initiative, but I will also add too, so there, out of what you see on the map, the length of the entirety of all of these kind of segments or phases associated with this project, there's only one point in which it crosses, again, because of right-of-way issues. And it will stay that way, at least up into the city limits. And of course, the planning and the design process will have to determine if the city, ideally, in our coordinations with them, the county would seriously recommend to keep it on one side, if at all possible, or both sides, if
As long as
possible.
that's being acknowledged, yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it is an idealistic wish list to have it all on one side of the road, and often practicalities interfere with that.
So I think we'll have some opportunities on the planning side. The county's been awarded a Safe Streets for All grant. I think they issued a $500,000 contract with a consultant to start that process. The city of Las Cruces has been awarded a $400,000 Safe Streets for All grant to update the active transportation plan. So I think the county grant is county-wide, and the city, of course, covers the city. So there'll be opportunities that they mesh together. So there'll be public comment and opportunities for that in the future. Anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chair, I have one more comment. Angela Roberson, Doña County. This is in reference to the comment or question about more recent data to support these projects. And I will just add that Doña County has done extensive planning over the last number of years, and we have tons of data from public outreach meetings in support of, generally speaking, pedestrian connectivity of all kinds, mostly sidewalks and trails, multi-use trails. And the ones that we've implemented to date, not just in the Mesilla Valley MPO, but we have projects in the El Paso MPO down in the Chaparral area, have been broadly and widely supported. So over and over again, we've just heard positive feedback from the community members. Even most recently at a DOT meeting where it wasn't one of the agenda items, it was brought up multiple times where members from the community of Doñana got up and spoke in favor of the recently constructed, little over a mile, Elks multi-use trail, and their comments were, it's incomplete. And so this project proposal is part of completing that. They want to see it extended north and south to connect into the city. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. So I'll hear a motion to recommend, we just need to recommend approval to the board, policy board, is that correct?
This is Ashley Curry. I'd like to make that recommendation to recommend it to the policy board.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Just a motion.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. Waller is seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, well, thank you, and we're looking forward to that. We now have discussion items. Melinda's traffic calming update.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Suguli will be presenting this.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. My name's Tony
It's a long
Trevino.
day. It's afternoon. It's evening.
Did I say good morning?
Yes.
Wow, it's been a good day, though. I got a lot of stuff done. My name's Tony Trevino, the Assistant Director of Public Works. We're here today, I know, been requested several times of some traffic control, traffic calming devices on Melendres. So we're here today, we're just here to report the findings of the devices that were installed almost a year ago. So here I'll pass on to Mr. Suguli, the City Traffic Engineer.
Good evening. My name is Sugi Lee for the record. I'm a traffic management administrator of the city of Las Cruces. The general information for this project: the South Melendres Street is a collector street and designated as a truck route from Amador to the El Molino, which is north of the project site. But used to be from Amador all the way down to South Main used to be the truck route. But we work with an MPO to remove the truck route for the residential section. And the post speed limit is a 30 mile per hour, which is very typical for the local street. So based on the request and the concern, city decided to install temporary traffic calming measure using the chicane concept with a temporary delineator with some striping marking. So we actually select the 3 locations to make an offset and then narrow the roadway. So the people should slow down in order to maneuver safely on that area. So this is a picture to show what it looks like. So you can see we used a white paint with delineator to build the chicane. Again, this is a temporary measure. This is not the permanent. And then also we used the yellow paint to delineate and give a more clear path between the 2 chicane so they can stay within their travel side. So we have done 3 studies before, after, right after the implementation, and about 2 months later. So the first, in April last year, we put our traffic data collection unit at the 2 locations, one in the little north and one in the south. So the first location, we got about 17,000 vehicles, and the 85th percentile is at 37 miles per hour. And for the south, it's about 16,000 vehicles, and then 80th percentile is at 30 miles per hour, at 35 miles per hour. But again, the post speed limit is at 30, and our threshold for any traffic calming is at plus 10 miles. That's the reason we trying to install the temporary measure, not the permanent measure, to see how the people behave. So this is a study result right after we install the temporary traffic calming device in May. And as you can see, the 85th percentile, a little bit lower than what we observed before, and then 33 miles per hour on the one side, and the other one, the 34 mile. So this is the report and the result of our study about 2 months after, and the same thing, 33, 1 mile lower than right after we install the traffic calming device, and then same with the Brownwood 33. So overall, the 85th percentile on the north side, there's a little bit of the decrease of the speed, about the 4 mile, and the south side, there's about 2 mile decrease of the speed. I'll stand for any question or any comment.
So I guess the first question, do you consider that a successful project?
Unfortunately, from technical perspective, ±5 from the traffic engineering is not the meaningful number. But as you can see, there's only the 4 mile and then 2 mile decrease from the speed standpoint. So it's not really effective.
Mr. Chair? Did you consider any other traffic calming methods, for example, a temporary roundabout or traffic circle or something there that would, well, a traffic circle of some sort.
So instead, in terms of the selection of the traffic calming device, it's a very complicated process. So in this area, it used to be it's a truck, the route, and also the bus using the section of the roadway. So it's not really feasible to put any temporary roundabout or something. And then also there's a lot of the heavy vehicle use this section of the roadway. So it's not a really good idea to install the deflection measure such as speed table, which is very the typical for the residential street.
Right, yeah, I could understand the objections to the speed table. Kind of a side question, the city, in Elevate Las Cruces, one of the goals was that the city join NACTO. Do you have any information on the process and where the city is in that?
My understanding, city adapted Nectar as a reference. But again, Nectar is the guideline, not the standard.
Mr. Chair, Tony Trevino for the record again. I believe planning and implementation is working on that right now.
Okay, because at the National Bike Summit, there was an NACTO representative there, and I asked him, it sounds like the city's having difficulty joining. Is there a long process? And he didn't seem to think that there would be a long process. Because I think you attended the last NACTO conference, and I guess since we're diverting a little bit, did you find value in that? And is there any reason why the city shouldn't actively join NACTO and have access to whatever resources NACTO offers?
Mr. Chair, you're right. I did attend I think it was a 3-day training for NACTO. It was very beneficial, opened a lot of eyes, and kind of also saw some discrepancies also from speeding regarding some of the capabilities within an existing neighborhood. So there was a lot of eye-opening ideas that came up. Right now, I don't know of any difficulties doing it. I just know planning and implementation, they do not have a current active transportation coordinator, and I know they have their hands tied with the CIP right now at the city. So I really cannot say where they're at in that process or what has been the holdup.
Okay. Any committee members have questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Jeff Swaller. I was thinking about the different types of traffic calming measures, and I think there's other
Is he at the mic?
I think there's other places in the city where they could be implemented. In addition to chicanes, you could have speed bumps. I think you called it something else. You could have flashers. You could have signs that read out the miles per hour, the speed. And you could also have cameras with the automated ticketing like they do in Arizona. Is speeding a problem on Melendrez, or were there pedestrian injuries or on that road? What was the reason for the implementation to try to reduce the chicane, to try to reduce the speed?
So, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and answer that. That was a request that came from one of the city councilors that some residents had went to her and discussed this and brought it up, and we looked into it more and looked at the width of the road and said, yeah, this might be a feasible one to do a test pilot kind of.
Okay, so it's a test pilot.
Yes.
So what is the speed limit on that road?
30.
30, okay, so there's still speeding.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you, that was my question.
No problem.
Other measures might be more effective.
No, you're exactly right. Right away is kind of what we have to deal with also.
I think you're just hitting the tip of the iceberg for Las Cruces and speeding traffic, especially close to where people walk and where they're bicyclists, posing a hazard to pedestrians and cyclists.
You're right, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Jim Wilcox for the record. I did not hear or understand, are there other, and I have more questions after this, but are you still going to work on trying to come up with something that'll address this?
Mr. Chair, right now, we're going to stay with this temporary method. There's nothing in the future to kind of do any permanent infrastructure to handle this area.
Okay. The pictures you showed don't represent what it looks like now. People have blasted through that area. The effectiveness of that works when you have two vehicles approaching at the same time. When there is no vehicle, there are many people who just roll over those posts. And it looked to me, because I live very close, looked to me like the posts were replaced at some time when they got thrashed, but I can't be for sure on that. So what is happening there in the parlance of engineering is you're trying to implement, it's a terrible term, but you're trying to implement what's called friction. When people believe that they could have an accident, they actually slow down. And when they're confident that everything is fine, they speed up. And then they have an accident at a much higher speed. So I think at this point, I also, just to let you know, there was a significant discussion on Facebook about this initiated by one of the residents who said it was not effective. They were disappointed in it. And then there was another person I spoke to at a recent meeting of different departments over near the Women's Park who said that he felt, and I'm just relaying this, I'm not saying there's a validity of this, that at night, seniors don't see those posts and run right over them. And I do know as a person who's getting up there, it's definitely darker at night than it used to be. So I think, so if it's not working and you're going to continue what's there, why would you do that?
So when Mr. Chair, so when I said we're going to continue what's there is because you're exactly right. We're getting several calls either for or against.
Yes.
In the neighborhoods that these chicanes are in front of. We're taking away parking from the residences there. So we're getting a lot of opposition for and against it. So we need to kind of look at it for an overall perspective. What is the best for everybody? We just don't want to make a jerk move decision. So right now they're going to stay there till we find out which way the city's going to go with the direction based on the current and ongoing calls that we're getting in.
Do you have a timeline at which point you will make a decision?
I do not. We're going to have some further conversation with the counselor and hopefully some of the residents who have for or against it and kind of further the conversations.
So the last thing I would say is that there, as they say, in times of uncertainty, over communicate. So there seems to be a lot of people who don't know what's going on. And I don't know if you've done door flyers or anything like that for the residents who live in that area. My recommendation, and it's just, my opinion about this, is that there be some kind of a neighborhood get-together for people who are interested and talk about. A lot of people don't understand engineering principles, and I'm not saying I do, but I was on a committee for 7 years, on a transportation committee. And it's counterintuitive for a lot of people. So you get a lot of grief, a lot of PR problems. Then the council member, they want to satisfy their constituents and get reelected. So that would be my recommendation, that there be some there be heightened information dissemination.
Okay. Well heard. Thank you. Now what's that?
Mr. Chair? Mr. Trevino, I just wanted to follow up. Did I understand correctly that you're waiting on the active transportation coordinator position before you move forward with NACTO?
Mr. Chair, no, I said they're the ones that are moving that forward in the different departments, the planning and implementation department. So I do not have a current update of where that's at.
Got it. Okay, thanks. I think I just misheard. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? So yeah, I guess other follow-up is how else are you going to distribute this information? Neighborhood meetings or city council workshop, or any plans for how to communicate your findings?
That is a conversation that the director and I are currently having, and as well, we've been getting some questions from the counselor. city council for that area. So we're going to discuss with her and kind of see what is the best way for us to move forward.
And I guess my only other comment goes to what's happened to those, the flex posts. The reflective tape is only on the top, and the top has been broken off. So at night, it becomes very difficult to figure out where it is. So hopefully you'll be replacing at least the outer ends. When you do, if you can do reflective tape on the whole length of it, I think that would be beneficial.
We do have a lot of these delineators throughout town that have been knocked down. We're trying our best to keep those up, and as well with all the other safety measures we're putting on throughout the city for our operational side to keep up with everything. So we do have that. That's been brought up to our attention, and 3 times. I think
We already replaced the 3 times.
If you speak into the,
Yeah, we already replaced that delineator, the broken and the damaged, the delineator 3 times, and then we scheduled another replacement.
okay, yeah, I know that they're like $27 for each of those flex posts plus time to install them. So it's relatively cheap as city infrastructure goes, but still scheduling and watching what's happening with those is probably the bigger problem.
I appreciate the understanding. Yes, sir.
I was encouraged in seeing that the 85th percentile went down to closer to the speed limit. I wish we had other ways to get closer to the speed limit. I guess I would encourage anybody that's a driver, just to encourage them to just drive the speed limit. And if you're in your neighborhood, just drive 20 miles an hour when you're getting close to home, because it's not only your home, it's somebody else's home. And anything that we can do to promote that, whether it's public service announcements or traffic calming efforts, they need to be done.
You're exactly right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask another question, please.
Okay.
I'm not sure I heard. Did you say that you've replaced the post 3 times?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then did you also say that you don't have any additional posts?
No, they're scheduled to do it again for
They're
the ones
scheduled
that are
to-
damaged now.
Okay, you're just going to keep replacing the posts. When is that schedule? So, you know, that like next week or a month from now? Or?
If I'm not sure, but I believe it most likely will happen this week.
This week, okay.
Yeah, but
So-
we will add some plate. It's a little more visible instead of just having, the round pole alone. So we most likely will add some other stuff.
So I'm just trying to think of what it is that a motorist would think if sometimes the post is there and they go around it, and then other times there's no post, so they go over it. And does the inconsistency of implementation create a certain kind of motorist behavior? One of the things that could happen, I'm not saying it would, is the motorists learn that if they run over them, they go away. And so then they get replaced later. So I'm just saying hypothetical. If they're not up there on a consistent basis, there may be interesting motorist behaviors because of that.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess I'm discouraged that overall, right now, you're kind of considering it a failure. So we do the best we can, I guess.
Mr. Chair, to be clear, I don't think we said it was a failure. I just don't think it had the results we expected, and we're going to have future discussions to see what's going to be the next step.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. What is success in the situation?
Per the, as Mr. Lee said, greater than 5 miles per hour on a rating is kind of where the next step where that's actually effective. So
okay, 5
there's actually a range and a threshold of kind of should future mitigation occur or not. So that is kind of based on the current
Yeah,
engineering
we got
standards.
close. We
We're
got
getting
4
close.
miles.
Yes.
Great.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, may I add, it seems silly to me or curious, I should say, not silly, but that to do it based on a miles per hour, because if you were looking at 75 miles per hour on a freeway and 5 miles an hour is much less percentage than 9%, which is when you're looking at a 30-mile-an-hour range. So would it be something to consider doing it based on percentage rather than based on a miles per hour?
Mr. Chair, so there's a lot of stuff we can consider. If we notice the amount of traffic that occurred during the thing went up by 5,000 vehicles also. there's a lot of things we can look at, as well as the residents' comments, whether they're for or against it, the people that do live there. So we can take into account speeding, percentages, amount of vehicles. So as a city, to make sure we move forward in the best possible avenue, we got to take all this into account.
Okay.
Not just one percentage, not one number.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would like to add one other thing, and I think if we look at success stories, if you look at Sonoma Ranch Boulevard, where they have periodic stop signs, they have flashers that read out the speed of the vehicle, those work. I think that's a well-designed road. Not all roads can be that. Maybe you can't do that to Melindres. Another thing that works, at least for residential areas, are speed bumps. Maybe you can't do that. You have to have clearance requirements, and maybe that throws that askew unless it's a residential area. But things do work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them being implemented enough in Las Cruces, however.
Okay, well, thank you for this discussion and presenting this to us.
Thank you.
Our next discussion item is greenhouse gas performance measure update. You going to tell us about 70 square feet or something?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. So the greenhouse gas performance measure, we do have a slight conclusion on this as of right now. So with this, when the FHWA issued their final rule on this, 22 states had a lawsuit against the final rule. So the states did receive an extension to March 29th. On March 27th, U.S. District Court in Northern District of Texas vacated and remanded the final rule to U.S. DOT, thereby nullifying the rule. So this one will have to go back to Congress. So the states and the MPOs are no longer required to submit initial targets at this time. FHWA is examining their next steps. The Mesilla Valley MPO and the El Paso MPO are still evaluating adjusting our boundaries because of this, because the El Paso urbanized area does intrude about 70 square feet into the Mesilla Valley MPO, which would then mean we have to have a joint target. And at some point, joint targets, we believe in the future, there will be something else that'll have to have a joint target as well. So that because of that, we are looking at continuing our boundary adjustment, which started because of the greenhouse gas one, because of the two opposing. Texas was looking at a much lower one than New Mexico. There were two opposing factors here, so trying to balance that would have set up a lot of work for the Mesilla Valley MPO. And as you know, we have a very small staff here. And I will now stand for any comments or questions.
So is the boundary adjustment, is that part of the MTP process, or is that a separate process that we need to go through?
Mr. Chair, this is Andrew Ray. For the record, that would be a separate process. It's not the same process.
Okay, so are you initiating that, or what is the,
We are.
do you have a timeline?
No, I do not, Mr. Chair. I do not have a timeline, but we are working on it. I will add that as it's a policy matter, it's not something that's going to come to the BPAC for review per se, but we will keep the BPAC updated as circumstances develop.
Any committee members have questions? Thank you for that presentation. Now we have a Title VI plan update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dominic Lloyd from MPO staff again. I will be presenting this. So it is time for the Title VI plan update. Title VI is based on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is 49 CFR Part 2. Historically, it was part of the public participation plan. The new guidelines came out 3 years ago that it needed to be reviewed every 3 years. So we've now hit that time. This will be the second time we are updating it on this. We did add 4 new sections. They were in accordance with NMDOT requirements. So it was 6 sections. It is now 10 sections. And then the Title VI plan is on the MPO website under the core documents. Part of Title VI, the and you'll see this on a lot of our documents, the City Valley MPO does not discriminate on the basis of race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, color, ancestry, serious medical condition, national origin, age, or disability in the provision of services. So as I said before, it's part of the Civil Rights Act, which is where the basis of race, color, and national origin come from. The Federal Highway Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination based on sex. The Age Discrimination Act of 1975, as amended, prohibits discrimination based on age. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, as amended, prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. The Americans with Disability Act of 1990, as amended, also prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. This is also on all of our agendas in both English and Spanish. The Mississippi Valley MPO will make reasonable accommodations for a qualified individual who wishes to attend a public meeting. Please notify the Mississippi Valley MPO at least 48 hours before the meeting by calling 528-3043 for voice or 1-800-659-8331 if accommodation is necessary. This document can be made available in alternative formats by calling the same numbers listed above. So also included in this are Part 21 of 49 CFR. It's non-discrimination in federally assisted programs with the Department of Transportation, effective Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and Part 27, entitled Non-Discrimination on the Basis of Disability in Programs or Activities Receiving Federal Funds and Assistance. We have Part 28, which is also the enforcement of non-discrimination on the basis of handicap in programs or activities conducted by the Department of Transportation. Part 37, entitled Transportation Services for Individuals with Disabilities, which is ADA. And then Part 200, 23 CFR Part 200, which is FHWA Title VI Non-Discrimination Regulation. And lastly, we have Part 28 CFR 35, entitled Discrimination on the Basis of, Discrimination on the Basis of Disability in State and Local Government Services. Then we have the Uniform Relocation Act, Real Properties Acquisition Policy Act of 1970, as amended as part of this, National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, and the DOJ Guidelines for Enforcement of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The public involvement efforts, the MPO will strive to achieve the following Title VI environmental justice goals: to avoid, minimize, and mitigate disproportionately high and adverse human health and environmental effects, including social and economic effects on minority populations and low-income populations. And this is to ensure the fair and full participation by potentially affected communities and all in the transportation decision-making process. And also to prevent the denial or reduction in or significant delay in receipt of benefits by minority and low-income populations. So the timeline for this, it is open for public comment currently. It will be an action item at the May 21st BPAC meeting. June 6th, it'll go before the TAC for action, and then June 6th, also public comment will close. On June 12th, Policy Committee will take action on that. I will now stand for any comments or questions.
So will the Policy Committee have a presentation, a discussion item on this before their action item?
Yes, Mr. Chair, they will.
Okay. I remember 3 years ago when we went through this, and I think we made a rather rigorous review of the process then. I remember recommending changes to the complaint forms. Has there been anything else identified since then that needs any update?
Mr. Chair, there has not. It was simply there were 4 more sections that needed to be added in by NMDOT as to bring it up to date. Those are the only things that were added in. As for the rest of the document, there were no changes in that portion of the document. They all met with the standards of NMDOT.
And since last reviewed, have there been any complaints submitted through Title VI?
No, Mr. Chair, we have not received any Title VI complaints.
Okay, that's all my questions. Any committee members? And this is a discussion item, so hearing none, we'll go on to committee and staff comments. City of Las Cruces.
Mr. Chair, I just have an update for 4th and Picacho. You may have noticed they started construction out there for the Hawk signal. That's all I have.
Okay, Doña County.
Angela Roberson, no updates at this time.
And Town of Mesilla is not here. NMSU?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a response to Mr. Andrew Bencomo, who requested some information on the 20th of February meeting. Mr. Bencomo is the citizen rep, pedestrian rep. He asked for a status update on the proposal for a multi-use trail connector from the Pat and Lou Sbarro Park down Arrowhead Drive from Wells down to Sam Steele Way. After meeting with the NMSU, PD&E, or the Project Design and Engineering Group, I obtained the information that NMSU has a multi-use path within Arrowhead Park, and they are working on a resurfacing project of NMSU roadways that will be restriped for bike paths. No updates on a timeline due to the extensive projects that they have and limited staff. So I can continue to request information, and when I get any updates, I can present that to the committee.
Okay, that's the multi-use trail.
Yes, the multi-use paths that they have at the Pat and Lou Sbarro Park down Arrowhead Drive to Wells, and down Wells to Sam Steele Way.
Right, was that a TAP or RTP? I don't remember, but.
I don't
one of those
recall off the top
projects.
of my head, either, Mr. Chair.
So is there a timeline by the time those funds must be expended? Is typically like 2 years or something, or maybe 4 years?
I am not sure on what their financial situation is. I know that they do have funding through the next fiscal for this, so it is not going away at the end of this fiscal.
Mr. Chair, so I believe it was a TAP project, and I believe they do have 4 years on it. So they should still have time to take care of that. But I will look it up for the committee and send an email on that to see when they put in for that project and when it was awarded.
Okay, thank you. NMDOT, have updates for us?
Yes, just Mr. Chair, Andrew Guerra with DOT. Just a quick reminder on the ongoing progress on North Main between Solano and Elks. That's ongoing. All the eastbound traffic is being shifted to the west. So as we, proceed forward, just, drive with care. Thank you.
So has the one bridge been replaced then? Is that what? Has the bridge on one side been completed?
Mr. Chair, only a portion of the culvert crossing has been repaired. The foundation and walls have been poured, but there's still some finishing to do on it, so it's not completed on one side just yet.
Okay. MPO staff updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Andrew Ray for MPO staff. I have 2 updates to provide to the committee tonight. The first one relates to the ongoing MPO transition process. We are, since the last time that this committee met, we have made a great deal of progress on that process. We have identified a preferred office location. I'm not going to say it just in case things fall apart, but we are working with the City of Las Cruces, with our realtor and with the landlord on putting together a lease agreement for that property. So hopefully we'll have more information about that very soon. With regard to the formal adoption, we are also making progress on that. Just today, as a matter of fact, I submitted the MPO's formal proposal for the MOA and the JPA revisions to the City of Las Cruces and NMDOT for their review. I don't expect that the DOT is going to have too many comments on the drafts. I've kept them pretty up to date on the process going forward. There may very well be a little bit more back and forth with the city of Las Cruces about a couple of matters in the MOA. So I unfortunately can't give a timeline about when the formal adoption process may start. I will say at this point that our physical move and the formal adoption process have kind of separated from each other at this point, and we're most likely going to physically move out of City Hall before the formal adoption is completed. That has a large, or is largely to do with the fact that the office location that we found is very suitable for our needs, and we are very unlikely to find one that is going to be comparably satisfactory to us, no matter how long we look. And if we wait for too long, that space is almost certainly going to be gone. So a considered decision was made in consultation with the MPO Executive Committee to just go ahead and start work on obtaining the preferred property. So does anybody have any questions about that before I move on to the other item?
So I did notice the city council is having a work session on joint use JPAs, and you're listed as being part of that. You're just going to do a presentation?
I am just doing a presentation on the overall MPO budget. That's, while obviously transition is going to be alluded to in that presentation, that way too premature for me to go into great detail with the council about that. So it's just going to be a budgetary presentation.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on then to the second item, I trust everyone notices that we have our MTP storyboards out with us tonight. Please do take a look at them if you want to, but I do want to inform the BPAC that while we originally intended to have tonight's meeting be an MTP work session, we had the TIP and the TPF tonight that we had to do this evening. And we did not want to try to roll that into then piggybacking a full work session on the back of that. We wanted everyone to kind of come into the work session fresh. So while we do have the storyboards here, and if anybody wanted to take a look at them, please feel free to do so. I just want to remind the BPAC we will be having a full and proper work session at the May meeting. So please just use this for some ideas and come prepared to really dive into the MTP at the May. What's the date of the May? May 21st, is that right? I think it's May 21st. And that one, we are not going to have an on-the-record meeting that evening. It is just going to be a work session. We come in and roll up our sleeves and draw on maps and have all sorts of fun. So does anybody have any questions?
So that'll be our opportunity to look at the trail map and the bicycle maps and thoroughfare plan and all these things to suggest whatever we wish to suggest about them.
And this is the first round of public comments, so now really is the brainstorming phase. We will have a second round of public comment probably in September or October of this year, where we will present the first draft of the MTP. So the BPAC and the community at large are going to have multiple cracks at the MTP before we bring it to the board for adoption in the middle of next year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Is that all you have?
That is it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we're on the committee comments. I guess it's April, so next month is May. May is Bike Month. I looked at some of the activities that are coming up, starting even next week, this weekend. April 21st is the Tour de Optimism, and then April 27th is the Family Fun Fiesta. Stealing a little Ashley's thunder, but she can expand on that. May 4th, there will be a bike swap at the north end of the Farmers Market. May 5th will be a bike blessing at Unitarian Universalist Church. And then the week of May 7th through 10th is Bike to School Days. May 11th, there's a schedule for a Cycle Fam. May 13th through 18th is Bike to Work Week with Bike to Work Day on May 17th. And Velo Crucis is scheduled to hold a meet and greet on the evening of the 17th. We've done that previously at Little Toad, so maybe something like that again. May 15th is Rite of Silence. And then the first weekend in June, we close out with the Adaptive Cycle Parade on June 1st in Mesilla. And any other committee members have comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Ashley Curry. I just wanted to invite members of the BPAC to participate in the Family Bike Fiesta that is, as Mr. Chair said, the 27th of April. It'll be at Lynn Community Middle School. The event will take place from 9 a.m. to noon. Please bring your kids and your kids' bikes and families and friends and neighbors. It's free and open to everybody. If you'd like more information, please let me know. I'd be happy to get you a flyer and more information. Thank you.
Any other committee members have comments?
Mr. Chair, Jim Wilcox for the record. I was enthused to see that the city of Las Cruces received or is going to receive $350,000 for active transportation. I think I can speak for pedestrians and cyclists that they would be very enthused upon hearing that information. And I think they would look forward to extreme transparency about how those funds are allocated. I know that we've seen in the past that some of the funds have been rolled into staff salaries and without disclosing, as far as we know, any line items specifically to bicycle and pedestrian projects. So seeing that, I'm sure that they would look forward to more specific details about how those funds are spent. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, this is Ashley Curry again. I just wanted to add, we will have Bike Month proclamations on April the 22nd will be at the town of Mesilla at 6 p.m. for the Bike to School month, the Bike Month and the Bike to School Day events. And then April the 23rd at 9 a.m. will be at Doña County. We're hoping our bike club from MacArthur Elementary will be biking with us to that. And then I believe, George, if I may, there's going to be a Bike Month proclamation for May 6th at the city.
Yes,
if you
at
didn't
1
say that
o'clock.
already. 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're on to our second opportunity for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to address us? Seeing none, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Ashley Curry, so moved.
Jess Waller, second.
Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, and see you at the work session next month.